Hello everybody, welcome back. So I'm going to discuss the reason why I use two different bot platforms. One being Bitsgap, which is what I use for grid bots, specifically grid bots, trading a specific range and accumulating, whatever it is, whether it's in this case Bitcoin is extra bot profit, or in the past I used BNB a lot, and that's how I managed to turn $1,000 into $50,000, which sounds completely extreme, but I mean it did happen. It was all documented on my channel. But that sort of success rate is, I suppose, a bit of a. I'm not going to say it wouldn't happen ever again, but it was largely to do with forward thinking, but also a large amount of luck. I was accumulating BNB roughly at a rate of about 2 BNB a day, when BNB was between 30 and 40, and then obviously it exploded, and a lot of the profit that I'd earned in the form of BNB obviously just went up massively. So yeah, the bots helped me accumulate as much BNB as possible. Like I said, about 2 BNB a day I was generally getting, and then that BNB just went to the moon. So yeah, $1,000 to $50,000 is not a normal. That's not normal, but it can still be a very good strategy to especially if you're playing the long term. So I use Bitsgap for the trading bots, which are essentially grid bots. So buying and selling up and down within a specified range and accumulating, in this instance, Bitcoin. At the moment, I've got just over half a Bitcoin in here. I set this up before the dump. You should recognize before the dump, 28 days ago, around about the 4th of May, and since then Bitcoin and Algo has dumped. This is the mega dump here, but still throughout this process it's earning me Bitcoin in the form of bot profit, this is the key. And again, the part of the way I was able to make that $1,000 into $50,000 was I suppose playing the long game. Playing the long game and planning for the long game. And the long game for me has been for a little while to accumulate Bitcoin for the long game, and this is one way you can do it. It's very easy, generally quite easy, I would say, and this is why I use Bitsgap for this. I determine a range, whether it's this is quite a large range compared to what I would normally do, but if you think about the bottom level to the top level, it's about 41% range, and again, this is a Bitcoin pairing, so obviously the volatility amongst Tether is a lot bigger. And overall, I have to obviously tell you, overall, considering the market is down quite significantly, overall my original investment in form of dollars or pounds or euros is down. It's down. But remember, this is all about the long game. All right. Do I expect Bitcoin to recover? Yes. Do I expect Algorand to recover? Yes. And is this earning me profit in the in this downtrend? It is. And when and it is a matter of when Bitcoin and Algorand, mainly Bitcoin is what I'm focusing on, returns to its normal, its starting position, I'll be up. I've already earned, at its current price, it's $3,800, 18% of my overall investment in the form of Bitcoin. So since starting this bot 28 days ago, I've now got 0.1 Bitcoin that's tucked away in my Binance account. This is linked to Binance, and the trading bot basically, through the use of an API key, trades in my Binance account, and it basically buys and sells every last little piece of movement. And the grid step, from what I remember, is it's 1.2%. So every 1.2% up or down, there's a buy or a sell triggered, and bit by bit, it earns me little pieces of Bitcoin. And at the moment, overall, give or take, it's 0.67% a day. So that's how much I'm getting on this bot. And again, like I said, overall, my portfolio balance is down, but my trust and faith in the market is that they will both recover, and I will then be massively on top. And this bot will carry on until it breaks the range to the down or to the up, and then I'll decide to close it manually. This is why I use Bitsgap, because Bitsgap is better for grid bots than this other option that I'm going to show you now. Which is because I get a lot of people ask, what's better, Bitsgap or Pionex? Why are you using both? What's the point of using both? Well, they both offer different things. First of all, Bitsgap is very easy to understand. The user interface is brilliant. They also have a futures bot, which basically works completely different, and it's working on the same way as grids, but it's using your futures account, so a bit more risk involved with that. I've made videos on that. I'll leave a link above and at the end of the video for you to look at that as well. But mainly I'm focused really on the spot bots, especially in times like this, which is sideways accumulation, maybe even further downtrend. It doesn't really particularly bother me because my faith is that everything's going to recover eventually anyway. So during this downtrend or this sideways movement, I'm earning roughly 0.6 Bitcoin. Sorry, 0.6% in the form of Bitcoin a day. Pionex is different. So this is my Pionex bot that I set up, and this was set up 24 days ago, almost 25 days ago, so prior to the dump. And this one is given a different result. So this one is actually, in actual profit overall. This is my profit overall as far as not just the grid profit, which is less. It is less. This accumulated less Bitcoin for me in this downtrend or in this dump than Bitsgap did, because this is an infinity bot and it works different. Pionex is basically an exchange. It's quite a large exchange. It's not very commonly known actually, but yeah, they use the same broker as Binance, so the volume is extremely high, the same as Binance. It is doing the same things, trading the same volumes. It's really high, but it's kind of unknown. And they've integrated lots of different bots, including the same type of bots that Bitsgap use. The problem, it's not a problem, but the user interface for standard grid bots is lacking, which is why I much prefer to use Bitsgap, and also I could use Bitsgap on multiple exchanges. I've only linked Kucoin and Gate.io and Binance with it, but you could link Coinbase Pro, Binance US. You can link all kinds of exchanges to it. Whereas Pionex is what it is. It's an exchange with bots built into it. But there's two things that set Pionex apart from Bitsgap, which first of all, the first one is this infinity bot. And rather than having a set grid, what you do instead is you only put in the lowest level. So the lowest level for me was, I said, okay, well, worst case scenario, we're going to come down to this kind of level. If it goes any lower than that, then I suppose my analysis is over with. And but I had relative faith that if YFI dumped, then it would come down to this level, and that's all I needed to worry about. The only other thing you would put in is what percentage it would take for a buy and a sell to be triggered, which I think, from what I remember, I put in 1%. So every 1% up or down, there's a buy and a sell created. So it's not so much about grids. It's a slower burn, but it's really good if you can determine one area where you do not think it's going to come down to, which is why this is the infinity grid bot. And obviously there's grids involved, but this is one thing that sets it apart. The other thing that sets Pionex apart is the use of their spot futures arbitrage bot. And again, this is something that only a company like Pionex could really do, because they are an exchange with spot and futures. And what they do in this instance is they trade the funding rate difference. It's not like normal arbitrage. I mean, Bitsgap has an arbitrage option for it, but that's from exchange to exchange, whereas Pionex's spot futures arbitrage basically just trades 4 times a day when the funding rate changes, and it trades the difference between spot and futures. And that obviously is going to work better for you in an uptrend or at times of positive funding rate. It was not going to work for you in negative funding rate. It would lose you money. But the arbitrage, the spot futures arbitrage, is for people with, I suppose, large amounts of money that are okay with essentially passive income, that do not want to be exposed to the volatility of the market. So whether you're in an uptrend or a downtrend, you're not going to be losing or gaining anything on that. You're only trading the spot futures difference in the price. Which happens 4 times a day, so you get 4 trades a day, and they're very small. It's not very often that you have really big differences between spot and futures, but you do get them, and that's what's traded. It's the lowest risk form of trading I've ever seen, but it's also the lowest reward back. But again, some people prefer passive income, even if it's just, which is what I would expect usually with spot futures arbitrage in positive funding rates, is you should be getting about 0.1 maybe to 0.2% a day returns. every day. That's what you should be getting. And obviously if the market is massively bearish and the funding rate is negative, you're not going to be making any money. You would want to close it by then. So there's two massive differences between these trading bots, and this is the reason I use both of them. Bitsgap will make you more money if you can determine a range that can be played. Each part of your investment is spread out over these grids, and so long as you're within the range that you've determined, you'll be making faster money back. And it's about playing the long game. Whereas the Pionex is, again, for me, it's like an advanced hodl. I like YFI too. I like Bitcoin. The reason I chose this was because, and I'll just go to the charts now. If we think about YFI 2, my lowest range, I set this up 24 days ago, around this level. So there was a reason I set this up around this level, is because I saw this as a giant accumulation range. Let's have a look at this accumulation range. It makes more sense over here. A giant accumulation range, which is going to be going up, down, up, down, up, down. And this is going to be the way it plays out until it finally breaks out, which it will do one day, but until it finally breaks out. And then both assets that I'll be holding in that bot will appreciate with the value of both of them, and it'll be quids in. But until then, I'm playing this range up and down and up and down and up and down, accumulating Bitcoin in the form of grid profit. So then all I did is I looked at the chart itself. I recognized that it's more or less flat as a pancake when it comes down to its lower levels of support. I will take the risk and I will put my support level in at 0.041 BTC. Which is quite lucky, because when I set this up, it did do a massive pump and it did a massive dump, and look where it came down to, pretty much where I expected the lowest range to be played. So it does require a little bit of TA, I have to say, a little bit of TA, and so far so good. And you know, the results are evident to see. It's only a small bot, but the bot has made me 8.6% in the form of grid profit. So that's more Bitcoin in my balance than I had when I started that. Plus both assets, well, mainly YFI, is both of them are, somehow managed to work out throughout that fluctuation of the market. So it's pretty impressive how it's managed to do it. This would not have done it with every single coin. It does require you thinking about what you do to start with before you do it. Now, something I've done for Pionex, because Pionex is free, it's an exchange, you can set it up, you can use these bots all for free, whereas Bitsgap, there is a fee to use them. There's three tiers that you can pay for, depending on how much you're going to use with them, because it's capped basically to trading volume. But Pionex is free because it's just an exchange with lots of bots built into it. So what I've done, which some people find quite interesting, is I've set up several Pionex accounts for my nieces and nephews. It sounds crazy, but what this is, they're all very little. I think the oldest one is 7, the youngest one is my own daughter, who's only 18 months old. And I set them up with small amounts, like $300 each, and I let them run. And I will be leaving them to run until they're old enough to reap the rewards when they're like 18. So they'll be going for many, many years, you know what I mean? And the results, I suppose, have started to come through, because the first one I set up was about 2 or 3 months ago. I set an EOS to USDT bot up for one of my nieces, and at the time I think EOS was about $4.50. Anyway, EOS ran all the way up to $14 and all the way back down again, massively pumped, massively dumped, which is exactly what you want for any kind of trading bot, especially one that you want to hold for a very long period of time. So over the last 3 months, I saw them the other day. I said, let's just have a look at the results of that trading bot. Just curious to see how it's worked. And basically what it's done throughout that process is the $300 has been doubled. So they've got $600 now in the form of USDT that they didn't have when they started. So the overall investment always will remain at $300. And now they've got $600 worth of Tether sitting on the side. It's just banked. It's not being reinvested or anything like that. It's just sitting there, as profit. So you can see, obviously I don't have access to that to show it to you, but you can see that how this style would benefit from having these technically, well, I suppose they're saving accounts, isn't it? I don't know what you guys do where you live, but when I was little, my granddad set me up a building society and put like $200, not dollars, my God, £200 in there, when I was a little kid, and I got access to that when I was 16, and I think there was no more than about $220, £220 in there. I mean, it's very nice of him to do that. He couldn't have set one of these up. It didn't exist at the time, but you know, we're living in different times now. So I thought it was an interesting thing that you could think about doing in a way that seemed to spark a few people's interest when I mentioned it on the live stream. But again, you know, if you are going to do something like that, you choose something that that you want to hold for a very, very long time, something that's not going to disappear or die. So, you know, literally something in the top 10 with good fundamentals. You don't want to be doing it on something silly. You want to be doing it on something that's relatively solid and tangible, and also with a lot of volatility. So the ones I've set up for these savings accounts have been, you'll love it or hate it, but XRP, EOS and Chainlink, they're the ones I do. But there's also absolutely nothing wrong with doing a Bitcoin one, because Bitcoin doesn't appear to me like it's going to go anywhere, nor does Ethereum. But I just wanted to set things up which at the time were relatively low compared to where I project their overall value to be, you know, down the line in many years. So those have worked out quite well, and again, I wanted to show this to you because this has worked out quite well as also. In fact, this has given the best results so far, but I think largely that's to do with the time that I set it up and the analysis that went into it. Whereas this one I set up because I like both charts, I saw a range that wanted to be played, and it's being played. But remember, bots aren't fast profit. It is a matter of you know, letting it do its thing. I suppose passive income is one way to look at it, and it is making me money. I mean, you know, it is making me money. It's making me money in the form of Bitcoin. So I've got 0.1% Bitcoin. If this gets to 100%, that means I will have made, you know, 0.57%. I would have doubled this at 100%. So if that is going to carry on the way it goes now, you know, towards the end of the year, this amount will have been doubled anyway, regardless of the price of Bitcoin. This amount will have been doubled. I would have this amount on top of what I put in, just in the form of the bot profit. Whether that means that Bitcoin is down at $5,000 or up at $100,000, this has been doubled, and this is what I'm saying. This is the thing to focus on, and this is why I'm not particularly bothered about, you know, the overall balance going down. So long as I'm in range and I'm still making money in the form of this bot is okay. And again, it's the same deal with Pionex. It's the same procedure, apart from this one will last. I will keep this one on a lot longer because it's an infinity grid, and I don't have to worry about it breaking out of any kind of top area. The only thing I'm concerned about is if it breaks down from here. That would basically mean that this bot is likely to have failed, and if this coin does decide to die and never come back to life again, then you would not want to keep this bot on. So a nice big rambled overview of why I use two different types of trading bots here. I know that there's other ones. I did use 3 commas for a little bit. I didn't like it. I didn't get on well with it. The main difference is that Bitsgap has got the most superior user interface, which is why I liked it to start with, and it connects to basically any exchange that you generally have. And Pionex, initially they contacted me to do a sponsored video, so I did it, and then I actually grew to really like it since I saw the benefits were different to Bitsgap. And you know, I don't use most of these bots that they have that you can use, but they are there if you wanted to use them. The thing that really sets it apart is the infinity grid bot, which lends itself to a very long-term bot position. And again, that's why I've set up these trading bot savings accounts for my extended family members, the little kids in the family members, and also the spot arbitrage. Those two things completely set it apart. But again, also because it's free, it is a free account, so it lends itself to doing those sort of things too. Anyway, that should hopefully nullify any more questions about why I use 2 separate bot platforms, and they both have very good benefits to them, and you can see why I use 2 different ones now. Hopefully you will see why I use 2 different bot platforms, and it should make sense that one of them is for grid bots only, the other one is for long-term bots and maybe some spot arbitrage and spot futures arbitrage if and when I become a whale. Or I suppose anything over $10,000 is worth doing it, but it's very slow, but it's very safe as well. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you have a nice day and take it easy.